address a big market. And finally, should be IP-centric and should hope for patent protection if possible. IP is very critical for a tech startup. So always look for intellectual property. However, my friends, idea is only 20%. The rest of it is 80% lies in execution of this idea. So keep that in mind. A great idea is only 20% towards success. So what are the remaining 80%? And that's the next 4 steps. Okay. So the second step in the next 20% is basically hiring what I call the dream team. No person, however great you are, however good you are, can do everything yourself, or himself or herself. You need people, you need support, you need an ecosystem. And that's only possible if you hire somebody equal or better than you as your co-founders, as a team. So in my opinion, you should have a management team consisting of at least 3 people, okay? 2, maybe 3. The first is the CEO. The CEO of a company, as the primary job of a CEO of a company is to raise capital. Just keep this in mind. The CEO of the company should not be doing technology, should not be doing sales. They should only raise capital. A startup needs capital every day. The CEO should say, how do I get money from my company? To investors, to partners, to whatever. And then he or she should hire and assemble a great team based on their credentials. That's the job of CEO. Hire a great team and raise capital. That's a startup CEO, okay? Then you have a CTO. A CTO should build the technology, test, deploy, support. So keep that in mind. And finally, you should have some sort of CFO or a CMO, a marketing guy, depending upon what direction you're going towards. Okay, so you need to have a diverse team. Otherwise, all members technologists, all members business with no technology is going to fail. Okay, most likely. So keep that in mind. The last important thing is hire a good industry and academic experts as advisors. So when I started my startups in many years ago, I basically hired 10 experts in the field of supercritical water. And when the world's #1 venture capital firm, Kleiner Perkins, did due diligence, John Dover, the first investor of Google, and Bill Joy, the co-founder of Sun, many others, they said, you know what, Dr. Kilambi, we can't find anybody to do due diligence on you because everybody is on your team, my friend. So I said, hey, John, if they're on my team, then obviously they think whatever technology I have is great. So maybe you should follow them. And they did. And they put $25 million in my company. And that company got basically acquired by a PE firm for $280 million with 0 revenue 4 years later. So that's sort of when you have a great team, great advisors, great idea, things happen. But this is now, we've gone to 40%. So there's still 60% left. So let's go to step number 3. The step number 3 is basically raise capital and funding. So, having adequate funding for a startup is analogous to having adequate oxygen in the body to sustain life. So without oxygen, we can't live. Without funding, a startup can't survive. So people try to bootstrap forever. And actually what happens is that they end up losing because somebody else with money beats them to the race big time. And then, oh my God, I had I taken capital then, I would have survived or I would have done very well. It's too late. They say in US, hindsight is 20/20. So yes, in hindsight, I knew that, but do it before. So raise capital. So have a funding rounds like what I call FNF. It's called friends, family, and sometimes called fools. I learned that yesterday. So you also need some fools to believe in you. Some really good fools to believe in you and your idea. Then you go to what's called, nowadays you have this pre-seed and seed rounds with angels, and then you go to Series A financing with VCs. So typically you need what's called this sort of money to take a startup to some level of success. And remember, yes, you are diluting. I agree, you're diluting your equity, you're giving up some share. But remember, something of something is infinitely times better than 100% of nothing. So keep that in mind, that if you keep everything to yourself and you fail, then you basically have 100% of nothing. But if you raise the capital and succeed, you will have 30, 10, 20, 40, 50% of something, which is infinitely times better. So raise capital, have a team, great idea. 60%. So what are the remaining two? Okay. I hope you guys can hear me properly. So if not, let me know. Step 4 is this is very crucial. Ensure rapid growth. Your goal is to become a unicorn, is to become a billion-dollar company. That's not going to happen by accident. So what do? You ensure growth by hiring the right talent pool, you having a constructive board of directors or advisors. Here now you need to move out of advisors to more board of directors who will oversee the company, make sure the company runs all policies. Because you're now in a growth stage. You need to hire maybe 50, 100, 200 people. I had at one time in 2009, hired over 100 of people of Indian origin in the US during the peak of the Lehman of the financial crisis in 2009. Anybody with an OPT in the US who studied, I had hired them in 2009, over 100 people. So you need to bring this together. You got to get repeat and new customers. You got to get growing revenues and profitability. And finally, you need to raise growth capital from big name VCs. So we raised, for example, we started with 7, then 15, then 75, and finally sold for 280. So you don't get 280 million or $1 billion by $10 starting capital. That's like a story which will most likely never happen in our lifetimes. So the capital is required for every company, whether it's Google or Amazon. They all raised a lot of money before they became what they're today. And then you become a unicorn. So you get 80%. Now, one thing remember here, startup founders, this is critical. At this stage, you may actually think that somebody other than you is a better CEO. Keep that in mind that there are people, you may be the best CEO during the initial stage, but during the growth stage, you need somebody much more experienced for bigger setups. So don't feel threatened if somebody says, hey, I need to find a new CEO. Why don't you just step down and become a director or become a chairman of the company or whatever? That's totally okay. For example, you bring the best talent, and the reason for that is they may know how to run that company much better and much faster and much bigger than what you can because you've never done before. So it's always okay to bring somebody to even replace you in your own company. But it still remain your company, your idea, your technology, whatever. But you may have to bring somebody else from outside. Okay, that's a very important part in step number 4. And now we come to what's called the final step. It's called have a grand exit or a big exit. So exiting a startup at the right time and valuation is very critical. Else many companies later bite the dust due to many factors like market downturns, etc. It happened to me. I was offered a lot of money in 2001 by one of the biggest companies in Atlanta. I turned it down. 1 month later, September 11, 2001 happened. We all know what happened that day, right? So we had the two towers collapse. The market turned completely, and I basically had to sell my company for 10 cents or less than 10 cents to a dollar. So always remember that when the time comes right, you need to have an exit. So a lot of people say, what is an exit? So exit means financial exit. You don't have to leave the company, but you got to have some financial liquidity. And you do that by 2 ways. You do either go for an IPO or you go for a merger and acquisition, M&A. These are the 2 strategies you have to have an exit. So that whatever time investment money you're put in can now actually, you can receive it back in many multiples. That's the hope, right? And finally, you may have to hire a completely different exit-focused experienced team. This team is very different than the operating team because these people know how to sell your company. So keep that in mind. So these 5 steps take you most likely towards 100% success, okay? It's most likely. It's never. Somebody said, what's the guarantee? I always say 2 things are guaranteed in life. 1, you will die. And till you die, you will pay taxes, right? So that's basically. So other than that, this probably is a very good strategy. So, okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today is what are the 5 things you should not do? Because you heard 5 things you should. I'll make it very brief here. First thing is, don't be caught in a founder syndrome, which is what? You only think your idea is the best and you belittle others and ignore competition. Oh, I'm great. For example, you ask a crow, what's the most beautiful thing on earth? It'll say, my baby. What does the world think? Crow's baby is probably close to the ugliest thing on earth, right? So So what matters is not what you think of yourself, but what others think of you or your idea. Keep that in mind. Point number two, very applicable for technologies people. NIH syndrome, not invented here. If I didn't think of the idea or the technology, then it must not be good. Always a lot of tech founders make the mistake. If you see an idea better than yours, a technology better than yours, find a way to adapt. I always say there's a collaborate, C-O-L, before a C-O-M. So L comes before, collaborate before compete. Then you basically say is do what your customers want you to do, not what you want your customers to do. It's very critical, okay? You should do what your customers want. So somebody said, what does it mean? So let's say you make some dog food as a product, and your dog did not eat the dog food. So did the dog eat your dog food? No. Doesn't matter how great it is, how beautiful it is. If your dog doesn't eat your dog food, it's useless. It's waste. Throw it away, right? So that's what is critical, is that do what your customer wants, not what you want. Then finally, don't make your idea so complex by putting technology before the business. So what they say here is don't let the tail wag the dog. The dog has to wag the tail, which means the business tells technology what to do and not the technology should tell the business what to do. So these are the 4 or 5 things which you should not do and the 5 things which you should do. Hopefully, if you follow these 2 together, there's a very reasonable chance that you will be on your path to a big success. Since this is all about creating job creators versus job seekers, I thought it would be very useful to put this information in front of all. If anybody wants to get an idea of how this in the PowerPoint I can share, let me or Varad or anybody know, and I'll be happy to give it to any one of you who wants to see this in writing. But otherwise, that's all for today. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity, Varad and Howdy and everybody. I really appreciate all of you. Good day. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable words. Thank you for sharing your points. Like it is not easy to job creators, it's rather than job seekers. And 5 steps for entrepreneurs. Start in with great idea, and idea is only 20%, but execution is 80%. Thank you sharing your personal life experience also. Thank you very much, sir.
Now, I request MCs to introduce the next speaker, Sharmila A. Divashia.
Our next speaker today is Sharmila Divatia. Sharmila Divatia, an inspiration to thousands of youngsters. Putting disability aside, taking every moment of life as a challenge, she has done noticeable work in her career and standing as a motivational icon. She has over 20-year experience in volunteering and mentoring, and 30+ years in IT industry. As a part of delivery organization, she has considerable experience in some of major running industries throughout the country, such as Indian dairy, financial industries like banks, institutions, insurance, also media, and well, of course, project management skills. Also being part of software organization, she has vast knowledge base of appraisal programs and a well-known veteran of IT industry. And besides being part of all these organizations, she is also the Honorary Secretary of the University Women's Association of Vadodara. Ma'am, your story is a motivation and gives us courage to stand through all the problems ahead. And we wish you a healthy life and such more motivational works. Now let us welcome Sharmila Divatia to Innovation Challenge for Youth Organization in association with Induct and Liberty Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you so much for the very warm welcome. I am honored to be talking to all of you. We are speaking today on inclusion and innovation challenges for our youth. And that subject is right after my own heart. As a survivor of encephalitis, a viral brain fever that resulted in cerebral palsy for the past 50 years. I have a spastic hand and a speech problem, but that has not put any brakes on the rest of my life, professionally or personally. When I talk of inclusion, I from personal experience. This is my own career in a very visible part of my life. The hockey team in school, the naughty kid who was punished regularly. Uh, Discrimination, yes, it happens in all walks of life with everyone. It's not because of disability or gender or any other factor. Uh, Persons with disabilities may face more discrimination, but how do you handle it is how you really uh, take your mind and your heart together. I have never sat at home depressed. Career-wise, I have been a very high flyer till 5 years back. I was in Mumbai, living on my own, and I never had an issue with that. I left my career I realized that my parents need down Baroda in Gujarat in India. But again, I came back and I could not sit idle. So 3 years ago, I joined hands with my ex-colleague Anshul Jain at and that's where my entrepreneurial years of a very fulfilling corporate career for better quality of life. And we started with an NPO, non-profit, Vadan, and a program called Restart Your Career within this NPO. That is where we address pain points of the community, women, persons with disabilities, dropouts. The need of the hour is to use technology in education to reskill, to give accessible options to people, be it adult or child, and with special focus on women and disability. We look to build capacity and capability in both segments so that they can learn, relearn, and earn. The youth need to take up this challenge and set things in motion in the country itself. We need to build aids, software, hardware, network to empower people, and I am ready to mentor and guide them in this task. Nation building comes first in any case. Yes, as entrepreneurs, we face some issues we have uncertainty, we have tech challenges, we have consumer trend changes, career risk, and social failure. I was asked so many times, why are you doing this? People come up and ask me, why do you give up your career to take up a social cause or to take up entrepreneurship? Because that's my passion. And I have a very enduring belief that when patterns are broken, new worlds emerge. And I say this because my disability is just an inconvenience as far as I am concerned. Nothing gets me down, and my chisel and hammer to break patterns are my brain and my will to succeed. And I intend to prevail. If I can, why can't the entire youth community do this? I leave you with this question. And my best to lead India and Liberty Foundation, and thank you for providing this platform to me.
You have to share the screen. If it is taking time, we will go ahead with the next speaker. MCs, can you please introduce Mr. Hiranmay Mehta? MCs?
Mr. Hiranmay Mahanta is an associate at Mahanta E-Services. He is serving as the Director of GTO Innovation and Startup Center and also AIC GLSC Foundation. He is also a member of University Startup Policy Committee, Government of Gujarat. He is the Chief Executive Officer at the iHub, Gujarat. He is a graduate from SVNIT Surat in ECE in the year 2010. He has a unique honorary contribution in building student innovation and startup ecosystem in Gujarat for nearly 5 years. GTO awarded him with a special gold medal for his contribution for the state of Gujarat during GTO Sankal Day. He is making national strategy to take the innovation and student startup movement over more than 10,000 colleges affiliated with AICTE across all the states to harness creative potential of students across discipline. He has been nominated to contribute to a dozen technology business incubators to support young startups. Now I request Mr. Hiranmay Mahanta to deliver his address.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Team Lead India Foundation. Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, Dr. Hari. Thank you, Mr. Ram, and the entire team of Foundation and the wonderful session today. I have a privilege to share some of the thoughts, some of the ideas that we are working in the government in India. And also I have a privilege to work with Dr. Kalam for some time, early in my days of entrepreneurship when I was a young student. and also I had a privilege to get myself awarded for some of my projects at the hand of Dr. Kalam at that time. One thing I remember, which Dr. Kalam used to tell, and this is very important for any nation, for inclusive sustainable development. And this is a mantra that he gave to the entire policy making paradigm and the entire strategy in the government. He used to say, National Prosperity Index is much more than our economic index. And the development of a nation must not be only limited to GDP. That's one component. So the development of a nation could be more holistic, and youth has to play a role. So the broad developmental index of the nation, or the National Prosperity Index, should have three components. The component one is economic development, which comes from GDP. The second component is how faster, how inclusively we move the people below poverty line to level above the poverty line. So in typically 200 million people in India who are below poverty line, how do we take them to the next place? And that's nowhere going to happen only by policy. That needs technology intervention. That needs to move our approach from entitlements to entrepreneurial approach. It also needs very systemic institutional intervention. The third component of the National Prosperity Index is our value system. So the gross developmental factors of any country is these three factors. Your economic development, GDP, plus how faster, how inclusively you take the people below threshold level to the next level. And the third important is how do we inculcate the value system into it. Now, having said these three factors of the national growth strategy, in each of three, the youth has to play a very important role, and particularly in Indian context, when our demographic dividend is at a certain cost. So here is the context what we are doing at Government of Gujarat. I represent the government-owned entity called IHUB in the state of Gujarat in India. We are engaged to harness youth to solve not only problems of Gujarat, but also the problems of the country and globally. We are giving them a complete ecosystem so that the journey between mind to market gets completed smoothly. And what are we trying to do? What exactly technology has done? So if you look at the technology paradigm today, high technology solving rich people's problem is somehow achieved. Low technology solving poor people's problem also has somehow achieved. But the real challenge for inclusive innovation and inclusive growth of this country depends on how high technology can solve the problems of poor. So that means we need to create it more affordable, we need to create it more accessible, and we need to make it more sustainable. And doing these three is a very important point from a national and state strategy perspective. That's what IHUB is trying to do. And just to give a context, what exactly we are trying to do. We also want to leverage the intellectual capacity of all the young graduates that we produce from different universities in the state. I represent the Department of Higher and Technical Education in Government of Gujarat. We have 85 universities in the state, in the Gujarat, and as a nation, India has more than 900 universities. Only in Gujarat, we produce more than 1.5 million graduates. We gave a thought. All of these people are putting energy, research, innovation while they are in college. What fraction of those knowledge reaches to public? What fraction of those lab research goes into land? What fraction of those innovations reaches to the masses? And then we figured out somehow that pipeline is broken. How do we create ecosystem then? Then we designed a framework. How do we create innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem that is inclusive, that also addresses India's challenges? And at the heart of the entire ecosystem are these young people, the youth, what Dr. Kalam envisages as the great driver of change. Just to give more hypothesis into what we are trying to say. If you look at, my previous speaker focused on how IP creates the value ladder for entrepreneurship. If you look at Indian ecosystem, China per se produces more than 15 lakhs patents. India today even not file more than 40,000 patents. And hardly 20% of them come from these young minds. That's a great challenge in Indian knowledge ecosystem facing today. We decided that we will no more remain only a hub for outsourcing for cheap labors. We also want to be a hub for outsourcing of value literature, value-based systems. So how do I argue in this context? In 2003, we had 400 global multinational companies having R&D and innovation center in India. In 2013, we have 1,176. In this time span, 700 new corporations started their innovation endeavors in India. By the way, 80% of their staff, the team members who work on these multinational innovation centers, are Indian young innovators innovators and researchers. Again, to put my hypothesis more stronger, in 2003, these people used to produce 4% of US patent for the companies for which they work. In 2013, that percentage is 28%. That means the same young students, the same young graduates, the same young people in this country are able to solve global challenges, working for global companies and creating value. And it shows both are in terms of granted patents and also in terms of the IP value that these companies created. Now the question is, can we leverage these young minds to come out from our universities, from our institutions to solve Indian problems? Because they have proven their capabilities. They have delivered value for the corporations. They have delivered value for the industry. But now, as I told, can we involve them to solve own challenges for which the country struggles for centuries to solve? So how do we do that? How do we make innovations happen? So what we do in Government of Gujarat? We have created a fund. We search for 1,000 young innovators every year across universities in the state. We give them seed grant at the idea level. We are the only government who gives funds at the idea level. And once they build those ideas, we also fund them to next level. And in third layer, we have a government-backed VC fund, early stage VC funds, which invest in this company. What I'm trying to say is, every year we produce more than 200 young entrepreneurs starting up their companies, creating a dozen jobs before they get their convocation hats. And we have done it year on year since last 5 years. We have produced more than 847 young startups whose CEOs, CTOs, and CFOs are less than 25-year-old. That's the new India we are talking about. That's the new self-reliant India we are researching about. What we are doing? Initially, our patent percentage was not more than 15%. Due to this intervention, we have now gone up to 6x and 8x. Now our global goal is, can we increase these knowledge powers to the next level? Can we create more inclusive ecosystem? And we run innovation challenge, like this session is talking about how youth need to be engaged for solving challenges, both at society and industry level. We run an innovation challenge in one team every month. We give them seed grant to best 20 teams. We take them to incubation through iHub. We get them into an acceleration stage. And then government become the buyer of these solutions if they have a mass appeal, if they have a mass impact. We give them a preferential buyout in a public system so that those innovations, those affordable innovations, let them reach to the public health system, let them reach the public education system, and the entire gamut of things. So what we learned from the exercise is, youth today is not useless. Somehow we useless. And this is the paradigm shift that the Indian ecosystem is looking for. We have 85 universities. We have set up incubation centers in all of them. We are now setting up next level support system so that any innovations, any young person who is trying to solve a problem does not get hindered in the journey of flying to market. We want to create a very, very end-to-end ecosystem. And our goal is very simple. We want to see at least 10% of our graduates to be job providers rather than job seekers. We have attained up to 2-3% by now in the last 5 to 10 year experiment. Our friends like Bharat and others, through 100 open startups and other initiatives, have been helping us to get these ideas go to next stage. Now what we aim at is, can we create homegrown world-class innovations which can not only solve problems of India, but can create world's major challenges. And to end off my talk, or to share my ideas, what I'm trying to say is, today youth is quite restless. They want challenges. They need more challenging things than the academy and society provides. If you don't engage them with some meaningful tinkering works, in which they feel being nationalistic while solving challenges, that is going to be important. Or else, these entire youth energy will be there, but we can't harness it. And the next decade, like 2010 to 2020, was decade of innovation as per the Honorable Prime Minister's call. And 2020 to 2030 is going to be an equally incredible journey for Indian innovation and startup ecosystems. And I'm happy to say our youngest CEO that we supported was a 14-year-old boy, and the average median age of all these university entrepreneurs might be 25, 26-year-old. That means the youth is more impatient, more resilient, more risk-taking, but the onus is on us. Can we give them a platform? Can we have a purpose in life? They have motivation behind them, but can we give them a platform so that they can meaningfully get engaged and solve not only challenges, but create values for the nation, for the whole globe? And I think that's what we have been doing. And I'm sure with all of your guidance and all these efforts like Lead India and other foundations, we can take this journey meaningfully to the next level. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share my ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Hiranmai. Thank you very much. Yeah. MC, you want to comment on that?
Thank you so much for such a valuable word, sir. We are very delighted to get such a great information and ideas for youth. Your ideas are really helpful for the youth to become successful in life. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, MCs, can you please play the video bite of Dr. Kalam quickly before going to the next speaker?
Sure, sir.
Is there any music? We don't hear any music.
I'm sorry, someone is sharing the screen.
Oh, okay, it's not you?
Okay, that's Isha, sir. Okay, please go ahead.
Go ahead, Isha.
Yes.
Yeah, this is basically this is basically end-to-end flow of how to create a challenge or submit your idea. It is mainly for the those who are actually competing in the challenge. Thank you, Yesha. Thank you very much for the video bite. Now, please go ahead. I think Deep Singhania, he has some urgency. He wanted to speak and let us give the opportunity. MCs, please go ahead and give the introduction of Deep Singhania.
Mr. Deep Singhania is a seasoned professional in the IT industry with more than 20 years at the forefront of international market enablement and development, corporate strategies, operations, and sales. with 6 years establishing high standards in P&L management. During this time, his work has received consistent plaudits and awards, including Sealand Model Bank of the Year and TBA Trailblazer in accreditation and collection, and growing recognition with the vision and strong leadership. He has built an excellent reputation for establishing, managing, expanding, and running successful business units, specializing in market and business development and strategy. He has launched Augment Sol to help IT product and services. Companies who need help for strategy build and execution, market enablement and development from Southeast Asia market. Prior to this, in Amerio, he defined global growth strategies to grow the criteria, customer base, and revenue. In Nucleus, improved strategy and grew customer from 21 to 43 in 3 years. Established new businesses, winning awards. In TCS as the country head and CEO of Singapore, he delivered a revenue growth of more than 80%, growing to 1,000 people and $100 million. Defined strategies and delivered revenue for multiple business units with dynamism and verve. He is proficient across products, services, solutions, and technologies, including mobility, IoT, and cloud. Now, let us welcome Mr. Deep Singhania to address the webinar.
Thank you, Alia. Deep,
Excuse me, sir,
you're on mute, I think. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Alia, for this wonderful introduction, and thank you everyone for setting the stage. Dr. Hari, he did a wonderful introduction about the principle and thoughts of Dr. Kalam and principles of great leader Mahatma Gandhi. Varad spoke about all the options, accelerator, government policies, health, available for youths. And excellent Mr. Kilambi to talk about 5 principles for success of entrepreneurs. Great motivation by Ms. Sharmila and excellent work by Mahanta. In fact, very impressive work by Mahanta to generate jobs. And in fact, what he said that, you know, every graduate should start giving job before he becomes employed. So excellent work. What I want to talk about is how and what innovation plays a role in our life. And I want to give very specific examples. And I will also talk about, you know, how a country like Singapore, in fact, has excelled in using innovation to stay at forefront, and then how it has leaped ahead. So we all know that the 4th industrial revolution is basically the era in which we are currently in. And it is actually about the ongoing automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial practices, and all using modern smart technology. You know, large scale machine to machine communication, Internet of Things, and they are integrated for increased automation, improved communication, self-monitoring, production of smart machines, which then can analyze and diagnose the issues without the need for human intervention. And this is the era in which we are now progressing very, very fast. Now, if you look at this 4th industrial revolution, it is characterized by the fusion of technology, which is actually blurring the lines between the physical sphere or a digital sphere or a biological sphere. So it's all blurring the line, and it is evolving at an exponential pace and disrupting almost every industry in every country. So, you know, more and more innovation is happening, more and more young and youth workforce is entering who would like to develop their own ideas, and government and agencies are stepping up to support them and to help them to grow. So it is actually fueling a huge amount of innovation in all the areas of production, management, and governance. So this is something, you know, which is happening at a great pace, and innovation is playing the most important role. Now, it also has played, so now currently we are having this unprecedented problem of the global scale, which is COVID-19, which has actually stopped the life It has completely changed the way the world was operating, and it has in fact uh, put a stop to a lot of things which were happening. So for an example, the transport industry or the travel industry, very specifically the airline sector, the CEOs are saying they don't think they will be back at the pre-COVID level ever in their life. So they don't see that kind of a business happening. But at the same time, the innovation is playing a very important role in addressing the challenges which are posed by this global epidemic. And I would like to talk about, how countries are scaling up in that, and then as well as how some examples of this innovation has helped to address this problem. So take for an example, Singapore. Singapore, to stay at the forefront, has recognized the importance of innovation quite early, since the country was formed in 1965. And over the years, Singapore has positioned itself as a center of innovation and research at the heart of world's most dynamic economic region. We say that Asia is the fastest growing continent today, and it is the most young, and it is the most vibrant economy today. So Singapore is staying at the forefront of that, and some of the key government agencies in Singapore are playing very, very important role in supporting not only companies, but also individual and youth by equipping them with resources that can help them realize their own business goals. And this is all led with innovation, which is basically run with one critical aspect, which I would like to bring into everyone's attention. You would have heard of design thinking. Now, design thinking, in fact, Mr. Kilambi gave an example of a stool with 4 legs. And if you add 5th leg, is it really going to help? Or you want to address a problem by thinking disruptive and create a design which can actually help a bigger problem than that. So design thinking and innovation, they are the core capabilities for doing any successful innovation. And in fact, these are the core capabilities of Singapore, and it has always been. So which has in fact resulted into Singapore growing at a much faster pace than any other country in the world. Now, it is also imbibed in each and every individual. And as we say, it's a top-down approach. If the leaders are doing it, everyone will follow. So I'll quote an example by a Singaporean Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, who says that good design thinking was a key reason for Singapore's successful journey from third world to first. And it will be critical in country's future transformation for it to remain an outstanding city in the world. And on top of it, innovation is going to play the biggest and most important role in us continuing to that position, and Singapore stays at that position. So also, it is very important to know that nothing that we have today is natural or happened by itself. It is all the core design thinking and the innovation that has brought it here with a great amount of discipline. So, so the government keeps promoting this, government keeps pumping huge amount of money for innovation. And in fact, it all has resulted that Singapore has been ranked as #1 in startup talent by Genome's 2017 edition of its Global Startup Ecosystem Report. So this is something which is huge. And also it has been ranked as 6th most innovative city in the world, according to Bloomberg and INSEAD. Today, there are 55,000 startups and it's growing very, very fast. So the kind of money that has been given to research, innovation and enterprise plan, which is just released in current year, it is USD $13.9 billion, which will be now invested in R&D capabilities, enterprise innovation and entrepreneurship. So this is something which is happening here, which is very, very important. And government is providing huge amount of infrastructure to promote the youth come and take part in the innovation challenges. Now, if you look at example of innovation in COVID era, now take an example. There is a company, a local textile company, Gimli Group, which was traditionally a producer of retail fashion. But then they tied up with one of the large research institute, Nanyang Technological University, to create Ultra Mask. It's a reusable 3-ply face mask which boasts antibacterial filtration capability, which is in fact killing 99% of bacteria, and filtration capacity is 95%. So this is something which is really huge, and they could do it very quickly using the innovation. They also converted then 20% of their line of production and scaled up to 25 million masks a month. So, this is something which was one example they have done. Second was using the 3D printing capacity of the nation. So there is a company called Siege which actually converted 19% of their firm's 3D printing capacity to only produce face shield and ear saving bands. Now they started producing it bulk masses, which has actually led to them also donating these useful face shield to hospitals in Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia. So a lot of innovation happened there. Now, we all know Singapore's performance in terms of managing COVID, probably one of the best in the world. So, if people don't know in the forum, Singapore's fatality rate today is less than 0.05%. So, only 27 fatalities in 60,000 plus cases. So, Singapore has been very, very disciplined in terms of its approach. They were probably one of the first country to also launch Trace Together application, which was a huge innovation by the Ministry of Technology, which is equivalent here, GovTech, which basically built up this innovative app, which was able to trace who has come in whose contact. Now, something similar has happened in India, and then we have made, and then we have done it. So this is something has happened. And to promote all these in young and youth, the nation runs a huge number of national innovation challenges. So we ourselves are mentors to few teams over last few months. We mentor, we give. In fact, one of our very specific platform won the initial India-Singapore Entrepreneur Challenge. So we do a joint event which is called Intrapreneur, which is run by the Indian High Commission in Singapore, and which promotes all the startups from India as well as Singapore, pitching their systems and against each other. So we in fact won their leg in the healthcare sector. So this is something which made us very, very active. Currently, we have launched 4 startups. We are doing mentoring of around 2 of them, more than 4. So 2 we are mentoring, and in fact, we are working on a couple of more ideas. So huge amount of work that we are doing on the innovation and startup side, and we'll be very pleased to get into some of the dialogues with the people in the forum or engage with the youth to promote their ideas or to mentor their ideas. So I will like to finish by saying that we should remember the past was owned by those who knew. The present is controlled by those who think. But the future is going to will belong to those who can imagine. So with that, I encourage all the youth to be more innovative, work on their ideas, and be as successful as they can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deep. MCs, you have anything to say?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your valuable words. Innovation every day make the world vibrant. Every small innovation makes a huge difference. We young people are inspired by you. Thank you for taking the initiative to mentor young people like us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alia. Swati, can you go ahead? And Mansi, I think you wanted to play the video earlier. Can you go ahead now? It's a 1-minute video, quick one.
Yes, sir.
We don't hear any sound, Mansi.
Oh, I apologize, sir. I'm really sorry.
Thank you, Mercy. Thank you very much for playing the video. MCs, please go with the next speaker, Moshe Porat. Can you go ahead and read the bio?
Moshe Porat, high-tech guy with more than 25 years of experience in Israel high-tech executive position. 15 years as entrepreneur. Established MESH Labs as the first tech co-working space and innovation centers. Board member at present tense for 8 years. And IAF alumni and number of startups. Managing 3 accelerators. Involves in establishing tech centers and new education programs in the south and in the north of Israel. Created more than 200 events, 4 tech employment fairs, 20 hackathons for teenagers, and first datathon for database for based on data. Lecturing about innovation, establishing ecosystem, culture differences, Israel, no, Havan more. Now I welcome Moshe Porat to his address.
Thank you, Yashaswini. Yeah. Is Moshe Porat there?
I don't think he's connected with us right now, sir.
Okay, can we go with the next speaker? Deep is done, right? So the next speaker is
Isabel, ma'am.
Isabel Godoy. Yeah, please go ahead. Introduce Isabel. Thank you. MCs, please introduce Isabel.
Yes, Mohan is introducing.
Isabel Godoy. Isabel Godoy is a public administrator and political scientist from the University of San Sebastian, Chile. She was a university student leader and participated with different international youth organizations related to UN and SDG. She was a Pacific Alliance Fellow at the Autonomous University of the State of Hidalgo in Mexico, and Erasmus student at the National University of Political Studies and Public Administration in Romania. Experiencing managing and planning projects, highly
Mohan, your video got stuck, Vamshi.
proactive, and creative, awarded multiple challenges, and delivering high-quality results in every task. She lived her childhood on Nabino Island, the southernmost city in the world. There she learned to adapt to adverse and extreme conditions, be creative with limited resources, and appreciate the meaning of living in community, which has led to her love for the outdoors and passion for environment protection, which drew her link to the island innovation. Now I welcome Isabel to give a valuable speech.
Thank you so much, Mohana. So I will start. Good morning to all our audience. I would like to start my presentation by thanking the organizers of this event of Lead Indian Foundation, United States. For me, it's an honor to participate in an event that brings together international community, but especially for India, which for me represents a special respect on development rate in multiple sectors over the years. I'm Isabel Godoy from Chile. I had the opportunity to live my childhood in Navarino Island in the southernmost city in the world. I am the coordinator of the Virtual Island Summit Ambassador Program at the Island Innovation. We work with diverse rural and island communities around the world to develop solutions for sustainable development. Island Innovation uses its global network to find innovative solutions through modern technology and sharing good practices. Every year, our company organizes an event called the Virtual Island Summit, and this year took place during the second week of September. The goal that we set were successfully exceeded, and the COVID-19 gave us the challenge of framing the summit under its main focus. With sincere satisfaction, we met the goal of gathering more than 10,000 participants from all over the world in order to discuss global issues around the world islands. During the summit sessions, we held topics such as clean energy development and integrated resources planning in island states, democracy in the islands, political issues and public affairs campaigns, technology and innovation policy for island sustainability, climate change and COVID-19, islands as lighthouses of innovation, etc. So I would like to share with you some of the conclusions or of the main focus during the sessions, that the recovering tourism is totally necessary for those countries of islands that see this sector as the only opportunity for economic, social, political, and even cultural development. We, as Island Innovation, invited different government authorities at the summit to determine where we are and what the islanders are asking for. So this is so important because we want to hear the opinion of our islanders. Different sectors of society, such as stakeholders, should also be invited to join tables to expose their point of view and guide the authorities to take concrete actions, both in mitigating the impacts of the pandemic, but also at the same level, thinking of a responsible recovery of places. Now, on the other hand, I have a question for an open question, is how to build more sustainable islands. So I would like to share with you some of the good practices. One is shift to sustainable power generation, like solar panels, windmills, geothermal, and other technologies that don't cause pollution. And in the same way, reorganize tourism as a sustainable industry that doesn't depend on traditional and polluting energy generation. 2, projects that increase sustainable development in entrepreneurs. 3, seek out new opportunities and new partnerships with international leading agencies to provide additional funding to key industry and stakeholders. 4, move toward of digitalization like telework. 5, and finally, the reduction of emission of gases responsible for the greenhouse effect. Produce your own food, prefer the use of bicycle and public transport, avoid the use of plastic, and prefer glass, recycle, reuse, and reduce. So we cannot change all of our practices, but we can mitigate our impacts. So some of examples of our partners, the development of community-owned turbines in islands communities across Orkney. The SMILE project, where some communities are collaborating with Samso and Madeira on tackling the problems of grid constraints by managing smart demand to increase local generation and value to community energy and create modern affordable heating. The Reflex project and how it's now further developing intelligent local community approaches to energy use in order to deliver just an inclusive net zero transition, supporting electric community owned and managed transport and mobility services. On the other hand, I would also like to mention that today's event, Transforming Youth into Responsible Citizens, is framed by the challenge of innovation for young people. And I believe that they, and myself included, because I represent the young people, are the generation of leaders, and therefore we must empower them and start working with them. So educating young people in different topics since the technology advance has been so explosive in recent years. There are still areas that must be promoted. Being innovative doesn't always mean creating things radically. It also means solving problems in ways that you can introduce elements that you hadn't done before. Being innovative means being in constant training and gaining knowledge of what is coming, trying quick ideas and reducing risk. Being innovative means being environmentally conscious. It means reducing environmental impact. It means understanding technology as a goal of community well-being, and it means rigorously studying all practices to look for new ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Isabel. It's a very inspiring speech. And MCs, you want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us a grateful time and thoughts you have been sharing for us and being innovative for the islands and cleaning energy developments and island sustainability. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohana Vamshi. Then we go to
Dr.
our...
Ram?
Yeah.
Dr. Ram, Mr. Ramanan has joined. So
okay.
If you remember, he is the keynote speaker, one of the keynote speakers to have addressed us first.
Right.
So he has joined us. Mr. Ramanan, welcome to this webinar.
Thank
you for joining us.
Invite. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us, even though you are busy and you committed and came back. MCs, please go ahead and introduce our keynote speaker of today, inaugural keynote speaker, Mr. Ramanan.
Okay, sir. Ramanan Ramanathan. R. Ramanan is the Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission AIM, a flagship national innovative of the Prime Minister and the Government of India under the NITA Ayog. Atal Innovation Mission's goals are to establish and promote a vibrant culture of innovation and entrepreneurship nationwide. As the mission director of AIM, Ramanan has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship activities, resulting in over 10,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide, with 5,000 plus operational in 650 plus districts and over 2 million students having access to innovative tools and technologies like 3D printers, robotics, etc. 1 or 2 Atal incubation centers being established in UNIV, industry foresting startups, 24 Atal New India challenges to stimulate product innovations along with Prime Ministers of the India. R. Ramanan was previously Managing Director and CEO of CMC Limited, a subsidiary of the globally acclaimed Tata Consultancy Services (TCS). Ramanan led CMC's rapid transformation from a domestic government organization to a global IT private sector organization. Under his leadership, CMC share price grew over 2,100% between October 2001 to 2014. Ramanan joined TCS in 1981 after graduating from IIT Mumbai in electrical engineering and played an instrumental role in the growth of TCS and with a variety of responsibilities ranging from product development, technical marketing, global business development, and general management of large centers of TCS. Now, let us welcome the keynote speaker, R. Ramanan, to deliver his keynote.
Thank you, Lead India, Bharat Krishna, and everybody else who has joined this particular conference and this event. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege for me to be able to join a little late than what was initially planned, but I had a number of other speaking engagements during the course of the day, and unfortunately there was a conflict. My apologies. However, it's always a delight to participate in an event like this, which celebrates innovation, which promotes entrepreneurship, which is a crying need, not only of our country, but of the rest of the world. And I want to thank Bharat for following up with me and asking me to join in this particular launch of a challenge that you have for all the youth of our country in a topic that is very, very important. It is very important not only for India, but it is for the rest of the world. How do you ensure sustainable, inclusive development of not only our country, but all the emerging economies? And we are discussing it on a day of the great Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. He was indeed an inspiration and an inspirational icon, not only to India, but to the rest of the world. There is this very famous saying that is attributed to him, and which is absolutely key and captures the essence of what we are all trying to do. He said, be the change that you want the world to be, and that you want the world to see. So you want to be that change maker. You want to be that change agent that is going to leave a ding in the universe, that's going to create an impact on the people so that we leave a better world. Because after all, every one of us are a born innovator. We somehow, as we grow up, due to the educational system or due to societal pressures or whatever, we start feeling that we cannot be a contributor to innovation, to entrepreneurship, and we feel that innovation is in the realm of genius. But there is nothing like that. Right from the day we were born, nobody taught us how to stand, nobody taught us how to speak. The young child saw the world around and with its own intelligence, with his own innovativeness, started standing. This child fell down, stood up again, fell down again, but every time he stood up, he innovated. And soon he was walking, he was running, and he's winning races. You didn't know how to speak, but you saw lips moving all around you. You saw words coming out. You saw sounds coming. You connected two and two together. You started imitating them. You started speaking. And your intelligence allowed you to innovate, and you innovated, and you started speaking properly. And today, nobody is able to stop you from speaking. So, at the end of the day, every one of us has this latent talent. How do we allow that talent to blossom? And how do you allow that talent to express itself in the form of an innovation, in the form of an entrepreneurship or an initiative that is going to create an impact? And that is what we are all engaged in. And that is why this Lead India initiative of encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship through the challenges that you are launching is so very important. And the context is also very important. We are living in unprecedented times. We're living in COVID-19 times where a simple virus has paralyzed not only India, but the rest of the world. It has disrupted supply chains across the world. It has created grievous loss of lives and livelihood. It has created an atmosphere of uncertainty, and we do not know what the future holds for us. But at the same time, we are all here talking together, contemplating, deliberating, reflecting on how we can change the world. And that has become possible because of the power of technology. Technology is changing the very shape of the world, It is changing the way you are experiencing the world. It is changing the way the world is experiencing you. It has become affordable. It has become accessible, available, and advanced. And therefore, technologies that are emerging like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality are all enabling you to think of frugal innovations, affordable innovations, innovations that can be implemented in every community, in every city, in every town, in the rural and coastal districts of our country and the hilly districts of our country. That is what technology is enabling. And therefore, we are all in this wonderful opportunity or opportune moment where we can convert the crisis that we are facing into an opportunity. We are, after all, 1.3 billion people in our country. We have 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have over 150 million young students like you entering into the workplace. How do we galvanize this entire demographic dividend, as they call, the demographic dividend that is the envy of many a country? How do you galvanize it, catalyze it, and accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship for inclusive development? That is the need of the hour, because India is a large country with 715 districts, out of which 115 of them are called aspirational districts. They're aspirational because they're at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of access to healthcare, education, affordable housing, clean drinking water and sanitation, waste management. You have 1 in 5 infant mortality, 1 in 5 maternal mortality, 1 in 3 infant mortality, 1 in 4 infant stunting in many of these aspirational districts. How do we ensure that the gender diversity of women and men is being equally given opportunity for growth and contribution to the economy? We have 48% of our country as women and girl children, but we have only 13.6% of our country as women entrepreneurs. How do we ensure that we make 50% of them as women entrepreneurs? And that is by focusing on 5 things. The 5 things have been brought out very well by the Honorable Prime Minister, the pillars upon which an Atmanirbhar Bharat will stand. And these 5 pillars are, the first pillar is the pillar of demographic dividend. How do you ensure and galvanize through innovations and entrepreneurship in education, in edtech, and and leveraging technology to ensure that our 150 million young students are ready for the future, knowledgeable about the emerging technologies, and become problem solvers and job creators instead of just job seekers. That is why the Atal Innovation Mission is setting up thousands of adult tinkering labs in schools nationwide, so that every young child in the school between grade 6 to grade 12 has the opportunity to dabble with, tinker with emerging technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT and miniaturized electronics, and artificial intelligence to be able to create solutions for the problems they see in and around the community. We want to create a problem-solving, innovative mindset. And mind you, every one of these solutions are aligned with sustainable development goals that the United Nations espouses. So if you go to an adult tinkering lab today, in any of the tinkering labs, you will find that the children are all knowledgeable about SDGs. And therefore, when they innovate and when they create a solution for a problem using the do-it-yourself kits, they are able to envisage a sustainable, inclusive solution. That is what the young children mind has to be transformed from a rote learning mindset to a problem-solving, innovative mindset, so that when they go into the universities, then the Atal Innovation Mission is setting up world-class incubators that will foster world-class startups. We are a startup nation. We have 55,000 startups today in our country. It is rising to be one of the most innovative nations of the world. But startups have many valleys of death. So we want to ensure that these valleys of death are eliminated. And these are eliminated through initiatives like the Lead India initiative, by providing mentorship, by providing challenges, by providing direction to all these startups and supporting them during the crucial moments in their life cycle when they need support, so that they are able to bridge or eliminate the valley of death. Whether it is mentoring support, venture capital support, training support, strategy, business planning and strategy support, or human resources support. You need to be able to support them. And that's why we are setting up world-class incubator. Today, we are having more than 5,000 tinkering labs, and another 5,000 will become operational before the end of this year. We have 2.5 million students dabbling in technology. When they go to the universities and the institutions that they want to join, they have more than 400 incubators across India today, which they can join and they can promote and create their own startup and be able to realize their entrepreneurial dream. And when you go out into the incubation world and the innovation world, you need to have challenges that will bring socio-economic impact. That is the third pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister said in his Atmanirbhar Bharat, the pillar of infrastructure and the pillar of demand. We have 8,000 towns and cities in our country, but we have only 8 tier 1 cities. Now that's not a sustainable growth for anybody, because you're not going to have millions of people from the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities and rural India flocking into the 8 tier 1 cities. It will not lead to sustainable development. Sustainable development will happen when you make all the 8,000 towns and cities self-sufficient, that they become hubs of innovation and job creation. And therefore, we are sponsoring a whole lot of Atal community innovation centers around India in tier 2, tier 3 and rural India, so that these community innovation centers will bring benefit to the 600,000 plus villages that are there in our country. We are a large country. And unless we understand the problems and empathize with the problems that the 600,000 villages have, we will not be able to address the issues that are facing the country. We are a country with 1 billion people, but with 1 million challenges. And each of these million challenges represents a unique opportunity for inclusive, sustainable development. And that is why I applaud and congratulate the organizers of Lead India for having launched the Youth Challenge in this area. We need several innovators. We need new job creators. We need great, not just the job seekers, but people who can define the future of our country. And therefore, we need these innovators to be empowered, not only to be educated, but also to be empowered and to have a vibrant ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship in any part of the country that enables them to be able to leverage the latest of technologies, the pillar of technology, to be able to fulfill that potential that is there within them. And finally, you have the pillar of socio-economic growth. That is important. We have to bridge the digital divide and the economic divide. We have to ensure economic equality. We have to ensure diversity and equality for irrespective of gender. We need to also ensure that we are empathetic towards the needs of the 22% below the poverty line people and the 44% agri-economy based farmers who are out there. Unless we carry them along and unless we bring social innovation as an integral part of innovation and entrepreneurship in our country and in our efforts, we will not be able to succeed. We have many good things going for us. We are now leaped, we have left from 81st position in 2015 to the 48th position in the Global Innovation Index. And that's an amazing development. That's an amazing growth. Very few countries have been able to see such sizable growth in their innovation capabilities. But we still have a long way to go. But we can go there and we can deal with this and we can create the innovators of the future because we have the capability. India has never lacked for great innovators, great thinkers, great scientists, great engineers, great philosophers, or even great artists. You name it, we have had them. Whenever they have had the chance and the opportunity to avail of an ecosystem that empowers them, they have risen to the very top. And so you have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe, and Arvind Krishna heading IBM. You have several Indians leading world-class universities in America and in the UK and other parts of the world. But we also have the Abdul Kalams who come from the remote town of Rameshwaram, who rise on to become the greatest missile scientist India has seen, who becomes one of the finest human beings that we have been able to produce, who is actually not just a national citizen, but an international citizen, and who has been able to bring tremendous pride in the hearts of every one of us. We have had a Ramanujam come from Kumbakonam. We have had a Tessie Thomas, who is now called the missile scientist of the country after Abdul Kalam. We have had a Kalpana Chawla, who has been the first in space. We have many things to be proud of. How do we create and promote 1,000 Satya Nadellas, 1,000 Sundar Pichais, 1,000 Abdul Kalams in our country? We can do it by creating an innovative and an entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is vibrant and which gives opportunity to all. The Lead India opportunity today is one such example of providing that opportunity to all of you young dreamers. Abdul Kalam said, dream big and you will achieve great things. Dream small and you will be limited by your own dreams. So my dear friends, dream big. You can make a ding, you can leave a ding in the universe, as Steve Jobs said. We all want to leave a ding in the universe. We all want to make a contribution. We don't want to be just an also ran in the course of our life. We need to be able to create an impact through our effort, through our initiative, however humble they may be, however small they may be, because every little brick goes towards building the house of our dreams. And the brick that you lay, the innovation that you create, the creativity that you unleash is going to have an impact. I wish all of you the very best in your initiatives. And I wish the organizers the very best in the success of this challenge that they have launched. And on this day, as the great Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. Let us all pledge to be the change that we want to see. Thank you so much. All the very best. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramanan.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech and sharing the views on how we can change the world with the technology and saying us about the 5 pillars on which the Atmanirbhar Bharat will stand. And thank you for encouraging the youth to think big. And yes, sir, we will take a pledge so that we will develop the India and keep it very proud for you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanmayi. Now, Mansi, you want to play the video? Video bite of 1 minute, please.
Yes, sir. I will be sharing a small video. It's just a video, it's a small monologue by Kalam sir. So I hope you all enjoy.
We should know how to handle, not only how to handle success, how to handle the failures. Particularly you are in the management environment, I want the young people to understand how to manage the failure, because any task you do, you have to come across problem. Problem should not become the captain of the individual or the project chief. The project chief should become the captain of the problems and defeat the problem and succeed. Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads to thinking. Thinking provides knowledge. Knowledge makes you great. History has proven that those who dare to imagine the impossible are the ones who break all the human limitations. In every field of human endeavor, whether science, medicine, sports, arts or technology, the names of the people who imagined the impossible are engraved in our history.
Thank you, everybody. That was all.
No. Go ahead. This is actually in Kalam sir's memorial in Rameshwaram. Can you play that?
Yes. It was continued, but the more of him, the better.
So basically, this is from Kalam sir's memorial.
you, sir.
Thank you, Mercy. Thank you very much for the beautiful video. Yeah, let's, MCs, please go with the next speaker, Eva.
Eva Mangio. Eva Mangio is a graduate of IESC Business School in Barcelona, Management Studies at MIT, and the Global CEO program organized by Wharton Business School. Mentor in the mentoring program, Business in Women's Hands, where she led technology startups. International mentor at the MIT Enterprise Forum. Over the past 15 years, being responsible for its international structures and cross-border development. She participated in the IPO process of Work Service SA and contributed to its introduction to the London and Warsaw Stock Exchange in 2012. Now let's welcome Eva to give her valuable speech.
Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to be able to connect with all of you from all over the world. And I'm very grateful that I've been given a chance to actually share a bit of my experience and my insight on how to help youth in succeeding. What's very important for me, as I've got like a very global approach to the business, because like in Work Survey, which I started 16 years ago, I've been responsible for international growth, and we had a strong presence on many continents and on 16 different countries. So it all started when we've been all like very young. So that was like my first company that I co-created. And also this company was the one that I then led to the London Stock Exchange, and we made very successful IPO and dual listing on London Stock Exchange and in Warsaw. So the company was the biggest European work agency, recruiting and giving work to over 300,000 people a year. So that's quite a number of people. So during my whole career, that was connected to HR and working as the co-owner of the work agency, I noticed that like the biggest strength in young is that they are very innovative and they are looking very much into the future. So then I've been asked to be a part of the biggest program in here, which is a mentoring program for the youth and for the women in business. And I became an international mentor for MIT Enterprise Forum as well. So during the whole experience which I had as a mentor to many international individuals working in international teams, was that the biggest you dream, the most you achieve. And the young people that were like faced with the challenges, how to scale, how to go global, the ones that they've been planning from the beginning that their business must be global because they want to solve the international problems and problems that are not only the regional problems, they were the ones that succeeded the most. So what I can actually like convince you to is think big, because thinking big is only when you're thinking big, this is gonna like allow you to have the international success. And also the responsibility, once you're a creator, once you're an innovator, you're also responsible for making a big change to the world, not only to your small community, but if you've been given the talents, the intelligence, and you've been given opportunity to learn, then you are also responsible for those who you're gonna lead. Because being the CEO of the company, being a founder of the company is huge responsibility. And once you take this responsibility, you should think about yourself and about the ones that you're leading as your duty to the world and as your duty as a person giving this life to make a difference. So I noticed that the ones that were that they were like thinking the biggest, they achieved the most, and now they are international companies with a strong presence also on other continents, not only on the European continent. I've got a very good example for you all that I think is going to encourage all of you to actually think, do, and achieve. One of my mentees, Edyta Kocyk, she was already twice noted on the list of a Forbes 30 under 30 innovators in technology, which is a huge success. She's got the company right now, not only in Europe, but she's got also very strong presence in Silicon Valley. So that sole example shows that once you're committed to making a huge change, her company is in telemetrics, medical telemetrics. So once you are solving a big global problem and once you're very committed to it, you can achieve it. But one of my tips for you is also find a good mentor, find someone who has been already on that path, because that person can change your life and can change the way you're thinking about your future and the way that you're thinking about your strategy for the future. This is very important, especially once we are speaking about going global. So if you can, as a young person with a great idea, as a young entrepreneur, if you can just look around, find the accelerator programs and find the right mentor that is gonna take you, like grab your hand and be your co-pilot on the way to achieve that success. This is very, very important because you don't need to go on blind. You don't need to actually like go without the knowledge or just do things just using your intuition. You can also use someone else's knowledge and someone else's support. This is very, very important to find like a right match between you as a mentee and your future mentor. So on my path, then after I started to be a mentor, I decided that I should do it in more, let's say, like organized way, not only through the mentoring programs. And that's why I decided I'm gonna found the accelerator, business accelerator, which is called Golden X. And we are working with the European universities, and we are helping students and young scientists to make their visions come true and transform the great technological ideas into the businesses that are like healthy and are growing fast and are going international. So this is also one of the tips. You can actually try to find the accelerator next to your university or to your school, which is gonna like be like a first step for you to step into the international or global scene, and they're gonna like teach you how to make business. And also, like speaking about current times and about super weird times which we've got now about the COVID, what's very important on your path is to actually search for the knowledge, because knowledge is moving more and more from the physical locations, from the schools, into internet. So there is a lot of different web pages in which you can find free online courses led by the best universities in the world: MIT, Wharton Business School, Harvard, Oxford. So all of these great universities, they provide the free of charge knowledge that you can use on your path to being a great business person. So I would strongly recommend, especially that now it's much more difficult to go physically to any of the universities or to any of the science centers. You can do it online. This is cheaper and this is accessible right now. So I think that this is very important tip for you. Always learn. Even me, I'm all the time learning. Like during the COVID times, I finished many different courses, including the blockchain course on MIT, which is my alma mater, my school. So once you're learning, you are also getting more and more great ideas. So constant learning, this is one of the most important pieces of this recipe that is called success at the end. So I strongly recommend that you never give up on learning, because there is always something inspiring that you can learn, or you can also meet very inspiring students, your classmates that will maybe give you an idea that will change your future and also the future of many other people that you're gonna serve as the company that is gonna work with these clients. So now the times are changing much faster and we need to react much faster as well. So I strongly advise you to be up to date. Check not only your local news, not only local business news, but also the global trends. Very often you can find some amazing solutions which are totally not present in your part of the world, but you can, knowing your culture, knowing the way that you make business in your region, you can adjust these great ideas to the needs of the people of your countries. So I would strongly recommend that you stay up to date with all the international news as well. Also, if you already have a company or you already have the prototype of your idea, you can try to approach some big corporations that are seeking for the innovators. Because in Europe, there is so many cases where the companies are creating the internal innovation hubs in which they help young entrepreneurs to innovate in the sector that they are interested in. So for instance, let's say that you're a company that has or you are a startup that has a great idea when it comes to the communication market. You can approach the communication companies which are seeking for the super fast growing and bright startups that they then could incubate inside of their own company, teach them how to do the big business, but also benefit from their solutions. And like this, as a startup, you already have a first client who is gonna pay you the money. So this is a very, very good multi-way benefit. So that would be my next tip for the young entrepreneurs. And also, what's the most important? Just believe in yourself. And you need to know that every single person that's young is facing the same problems. So if you feel like you've got a problem that's greater than anything else, probably it's not, because there is so many people having the same situation, the same challenges, but you need to believe in yourself that you can solve it and search for someone who is going to help you to solve your problems, and then everything is possible. So yep, you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuva. Thank you very much for your valuable speech. MCs, you have any comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful speech and for sharing your views on this particular topic. And it's been an honor to have you here, and we are looking forward to work with you in each and every future aspect, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishesh. MCs, can we go to the next speaker, Mr. Sudhir Kadam?
Sudhir Kadam. Sudhir Kadam completed his BTech in Indian Institute in the stream of mechanical engineering, and he completed his technology entrepreneurship and startup course from Stanford University and Wharton School Social Marketing Analytics from University of Pennsylvania. Sudhir Kadam is a venture partner at FIDA Growth Partners and a startup advisor with 6 successful exits in telecom CRM, location-based apps, video streaming, fraud analytics, IIoT for transportation, and cloud workload protection. He has been on founding an executive team of startups that have gone from $0 to $100 million in revenue. Sudhir also conducts work on corporate innovation and helps to establish innovation channels for large corporations through engagements with startups, accelerators, and research license, acquire or invest in new technology initiatives. He also adjunct professor for the professional MBA and EMBA programs. So let us now welcome Sudhir Kadam to deliver his address.
Thank you, Vijay, for your introduction. Thank you, Vijay, for your introduction. I would like to add to that I was the winner of the Young Entrepreneur Award in India on the 50th anniversary of India's independence. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Hari Appanapalli, Varat Krishnan, Ramamuri, for this opportunity. It was very encouraging to hear great speakers like Sharmila, Eva, Isabel, and Srinivas share their views on this forum. The vision Ramanan outlined for youth and how Atal Innovation Mission is working towards that goal. And the talk by iHub's Hiranyai Mahanta underlined some very interesting ideas and initiatives. And I would like to take off from there and talk in terms of innovation in rural areas from a sustainability angle. We all know that climate change and natural resource depletion are going to change how business will be done in future. Established business models based on cheap labor, abundant resources, and steady oil prices are already seeing these resources losing their significance. When we talk of sustainability, there are broadly two aspects of sustainability. One is the resource producing economy, and another is the resource consumption economy. The resource consumption economy is driven by industrialization, consumerism, that has gotten the attention of the whole world, and where we are already introducing models of circular economies or circular business models, as we call them, to implement prevention and reduction of waste and pollution. However, it gets very interesting when you bring innovation to the resource producing economy in the rural areas. And the context is just right when sustainability goals are finding ways to bring technology in this area. Economies fueled by rural natural resources have proven to be very innovative and successful in Nordic countries. And I think Bharat already knows about that. But in most countries, the resource producing economy is often lagging behind, like typically the case of India and other emerging economies. But we cannot blindly apply the Nordic template to India because the situations are different, the motivations are different, and they also require very, very different outcomes. So I would like to shift the focus of all the discussions that we have seen so far to touch upon the subject of entrepreneurship and innovation in the context of rural development, and how learning from startup principles can be applied to bootstrap the sustainability innovation engine in rural India. Okay, so conventional thinking is usual that rural regions are disadvantaged in their ability to be innovative. There is low business density, dispersed business population, which basically undermines rural businesses' ability to access and benefit from the knowledge that the city boys are able to access. Moreover, a thin business environment does not create an environment which is sufficiently competitive to stimulate innovation. But these are the regions right now which are under great pressure to innovate in order to remain competitive. And that pressure to innovate is a fertile ground for entrepreneurship. So I have laid out what we call as a 5-point startup approach to driving innovations in rural areas. The step one is baby steps. Spawn a lot of small innovations. We tend to think people, traditions, cultures cannot change because the change is very slow. But small changes have a very cascading effect and will lead to big changes over a period of time. Small ideas pursued rigorously are worth more than the moonshots that people take delight in the Silicon Valley. Okay, great things about small innovations is that the failure is sustainable and less painful. You just heard Dr. Kalam talk about failures, right? So you want to make that failure less painful and you want to make it sustainable so that you can survive and retry. And when you crack it, you can thrive. The next point is Jugaad. I think we have all heard of this term called Jugaad. Okay, so disruptive innovations, as we see in Silicon Valley, are good enough innovations. Okay, they are all workable solutions. And Jugaad is exactly that. It is a workable solution that is good enough, but it is faster, better, and cheaper. Okay, and in today's context, we can say that they should also be cleaner and greener. Okay, because they should be environment friendly. But these good enough or Jugaad innovations appeal to a segment and context that others cannot. Okay, there are rural opportunities which big boys find uneconomical to address. And this is an ideal thriving ground for Jugaad. The next point is called Maya, M-A-Y-A. Okay, so this is Maya's full form is most advanced yet acceptable. Okay, this is picking up from Raymond Loewy. He's a design thinker and he came up with the concept of Maya, which helps balance between the need of the present and the future promised by innovation. Okay, if you have a gap between these two, the adoption will be difficult. Okay, so Maya is fundamental to how human beings learn and adopt change that will bring new skills, new insights, and new technology. Okay, the next point is connected. Innovations has better chance to success with ecosystems. Okay, I think a lot of people spoke about ecosystems, but I want to look at this ecosystem slightly differently. I want to look at them like ecological systems. Okay, innovations will thrive in a connected network of ecosystems, and network effect will help propagate this innovation through minimal promotion to large masses that can benefit from its use. This also helps combining various disciplines, that is required to create innovation. And so what it gives us is totality that is greater than sum of its parts. Okay. For example, many innovation in health, housing, transport have emerged primarily in response to growing demand in rural sectors for transportation of minerals and agricultural produce to cities. And the final point is PPP, or 3Ps as I call: purpose, pain, and perseverance. These are the key. The startup world emphasizes on the principle where innovations are pursued with purpose. The purpose builds passion that helps survive the pain of the journey, the fear of failure, and makes it a mission to persevere and see it win through these challenges. Okay. Education and evangelization of these principles will create the awareness and foster entrepreneurship in the younger generations of rural India. Okay. To summarize, 5 steps: baby steps, Jugaad, Maya, connected, and 3Ps. So entrepreneurial activity is good for society because it is associated with job creation and wealth generation. And COVID has shown us the plight of migrant workers from Bihar and UP who flock to urban centers in search of better economic opportunities. Entrepreneurial development can stimulate rural economies, develop infrastructure, and make them self-sufficient. But how do we implement this plan? Okay, so I have picked up a leaf from the technology and innovation adoption life cycle. Okay, where we segregate users as early adopters, early majority, late majority. So here is a simple 3-step approach. Okay, evangelize, implement, and multiply. So step 1 is to evangelize. Okay, so I think the immediate step should be to improve existing systems and do this by creating local entrepreneurs. Okay, I regularly give talks to colleges in Pune, Nasik, Nanded in the state of Maharashtra on innovation. Atal Tinkering Labs are already doing a job of exposing them to the latest and the greatest in the technology. The college students are motivated, and we can harness those feet on the ground to pursue projects in rural areas where they work with local youth to help them become local entrepreneurs. These projects can easily be funded by individual NRIs owning those projects with crowdfunding investment starting as low as $500. And this is not very difficult at all. The step 2 is to implement. So we go to a higher step now. So here we introduce new approaches that drive sustainability goals. The local entrepreneurs who have seen success are now ready to jump to a higher orbit. At the same time, now they will create room for the next set of local entrepreneurs to take their place. These projects will be funded by CSRs and philanthropic organizations. 100 Open Startups, where Varad is the founder and running the India chapter, has the world's best corporate organizations looking to solve such challenges. Varad has already planned an event for AgTech and Food Tech, which is a step in this direction. Okay. Step 3 is to multiply. That is to develop collaborative ecosystems. But unlike a monolithic federated ecosystem, they should be clustered systems, and they will amplify the effort with a network effect. So if you look at the Indian scriptures written ages ago, they have always emphasized on the balance of what we call as Panch Mahabhutas, or the 5 elements. These are air, water, fire, earth, and space. Okay. So in order to communicate this sustainability to people in rural areas, we should be using these 5 elements. Okay. The innovations can focus on striking a balance here, such as air, eliminate pollution, carbon neutrality; water, clean water, conserve water for drought areas, and so on; fire, which is energy. We look at anaerobic digestion to produce biogas, which can make the farms self-sufficient. Earth, the earth element is all about farming and mining. Okay, there are innovative opportunities in non-food farming as a source of new materials based on fiber crops. And finally, the space element, which is all about climate change that requires new approach to the timing and types of crops and redesign of new ecological support systems such as insect management. To conclude, the evangelize, implement, and multiply roadmap is laid out to first begin with economic prosperity, because local entrepreneurs, they will bring economic prosperity, which will catalyze social equality and eventually lead us to environmental quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir Kadam. Thank you. Sir, Bharat, do you have any comments, sir?
Excellent speech, Sudhir, as usual, and thank you so much. So, we are doing a lot of initiatives between India and US, as you touched upon. Maybe this is something we will take it up, in the later part of our initiatives that we are going to do with Lead India.
Thank you.
Vijaya, you have any comments?
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words on sustainable development and also stepwise development. There is a saying like failure is a stepping stone to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijaya. Mansi, you want to play the video to know what is the complete end-to-end cycle to register for the challenge?
Yes, sir. Let's conclude by playing a video, which is just a showcase of how we can just register in this Induct challenge.
Mansi, you didn't share the screen.
For me, it's showing, sir. I'll just redo it. I'm really sorry. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's all, everybody.
Thank you, Mansi. Varad, kindly go ahead and give your closing remarks, please. Yeah, Bharat, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm really, I must say, immersed in knowledge, right? So much, everyone giving so much knowledge, so much for us to learn. I'm just trying to digest so much information. So here is my appeal to everyone who's watching, to please pass on all those videos, the clippings that you saw, as well as the speeches that you heard to your fellow students who have missed this event, because there is so much to learn, right? Because it's all about, so you can read books, you can of course watch videos, etc., but nothing like watching it live. So you heard like all the walking encyclopedias, so to say, right? Each one sharing their own experience. Dr. Srinivas Kalambi, then you heard from Epinapalli, you heard from also so many other speakers, right from you also heard from Eva, you heard from the others that were there. I'm just trying to read out the names because there are so many of them. There was Deep, and then Sharmila, then of course, I mentioned Sudhir, Srinivas, I mentioned already. So, there were so many of them. And like I said, you cannot digest everything in one go. You and I'm struggling. So I request each one of you to watch this over and over. Anyone who has got a dream of building a company, building a startup, and making it into big companies that you heard from other speakers, like the way you heard from Eva, how to build a company. It's all very inspirational. So I'm just saying, let's not just hear this, just attend this session and go home. Try to, learn from it. Try to, do something about it. And even if you were to, like I said, hear this twice, thrice, you will get a lot of inspiration. And, you don't want to be another, employee. You want to become an employer, right? And you might have also heard the situation is not going to get better. Just in India alone, right, is very shocking news. I heard 23 million people have lost jobs. So this is not a small number, right? It is really shocking. And we're hearing continuously from all over the world how many companies are sending people home. And so now in the situation, what is the best alternative? You have to create something on your own, try to build a market for it, like the way you heard from all the stalwarts here. So my appeal to each one of you once again is that try to live it. After learning from it, try to live by it, try to execute on it. And we are here to help you, right? And so we are always, you can say this like a Lead India mentor program. Right after you apply into this challenge, you're going to go through the different phases of selection, and then we're going to announce the winners. So we are going to have at least about 30 winners. And those 30, like we are talking about from this whole pool of ideas that are going to come, 30 will be picked up. And then from that, we're going to announce maximum of about 9 winners. And those winners would then get a chance to be incubated. And you also heard from Hari earlier that there's going to be support coming from incubators in the network that we work with, and then bring them to market. So having said all that, I would like to also say that all this is not easy, right? Because it is, you can hear from all the stalwarts, you heard from all the speakers that they went through a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges to bring this to market, right? It applies to each one of us. So I will tell you my own personal examples as well, right? Before concluding, is that nothing is easy, and you're going to have, starting with the germ of an idea, believe in yourself, believe in, what you are, and, try to do something about it, right? It should not be like, oh, this idea will be dismissed. And like I said, what is your excuse not to start? So there shouldn't be any excuse. And look at the way, these speakers have scaled their companies, how they got an idea, how they brought it into the market, got funded for it, got trust from others who invested in them, and so on. So it's not easy to pitch something like that and get their trust, because if somebody's going to put their money into it, you're earning their trust, right? And then they become part of your journey. So like this, try to build step by step from wherever you are, whatever stage you are in your life, in your student life, or in your entrepreneurship journey, wherever you are. Try to take it step by step, and then learn from what you have learned today, learn from what you have experienced today, and try to bring them into execution. And then what we can do is, like I said, in a year from now, this can be brought as an inspiration. Instead of we speaking, right? You will be speaking here about how you did this, how you brought this idea to the prototype, and how you got a customer. All of that, will be something that you will be talking about. And so this will be a great inspiration, right? It's also something we can say our efforts have paid for, let's say, in terms of the success you have created. So we are going to be with you in this, and just to reassure you that this event is just a start, and we're going to have a number of events through the year. And you might have already known that 7 such webinars we conducted, and there's a big one coming up on the 15th. Be there. There's also a lot of wealth of information going to be shared depending on your sector or your area of entrepreneurship. Like, you can choose healthcare, for example. Then you're going to hear experts in healthcare talking about what is the recent trend, where you should innovate, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and so on. So this will help you to, work on your idea and go back to it. Let's say you have some idea right now, but don't know how to go about it. By being in such webinars, you will learn more about it, and then you'll be able to bring it to the next stage. It's a stage by stage, growth. So with these words, I would like to tell you that this challenge is open till the 12th. So don't miss this opportunity. We have from today exactly 10 days for the closure. So go ahead, apply, and I wish you all the very best. And our team at Lead India would like to wish you the very best. And we hope that you'll be one of the winners that will be announced on the 15th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bharat, for a very good closing remarks. I think the youth definitely will take the benefit of it. And the Lead India is blessed to have you and the entire team to guide the youth, the young leaders. And I also thank all the speakers once again. And our MCs, they have done wonderful job today. The MCs are, they are from MRITS, Mallareddy Institute of Technology and Science. I also convey my best regards and thanks to Professor K. Ravindra, then Sri Lakshmi Garu, all the team of MRITS, and our executive council members and our president, Dr. Harikrishna Maram, and Dr. Ravi Ayagari, and whoever is available here. And again, the 2 young kids who sang our song, a good song today. Okay, thank you all once again. And with this, we will close. If any questions, so no one has any questions. If we close, we can close this. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
You can ask Dr. Ram. You can ask the audience if there are any questions. Are there any questions from anyone that you want to pose to the speakers? I think we still have some of the speakers available. I think Sharmila is there, Deep is there.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has any
Eva.
questions, I think this is a great opportunity for you. MCs, you can, if you have any questions or any clarity you want for anything, how to go about this challenge once you register, okay?
Srini is also there.
Yeah. So you never get this opportunity again. I think no one is there. I think all the people are tired a lot because of the, yeah. So probably
No
we'll
problem.
get.
So, what you can do is you can also, I think we can tell the audience. So in fact, I would like to say like this, that, we have the Lead India Foundation's group created and Induct. There's a community. So you can always go there, log in and post your questions so that all of us can view it. It's already, visible to everybody. So then we will be able to comment on it. And we can also guide you in case you have any questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. Yeah. I think we are good then. Okay.
Yes,
No
yes. So then we'll close. Thank you so much once again for
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
And so Dr. Ram, I wanted to also thank you.
Thank you.
You've been a
My
guiding
pleasure.
force.
My pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mana TV, can we close the program? Can we end the meeting? Yeah. Thank you.